Hey everyone, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. Kind of getting some fallout because we've already talked big picture hyperbole about that main event from Saturday. Uh, Maybe the best triple threat in the history of WWE. It's one of the best WrestleMania main events. Like I said, I've spoken ad nauseum about how much I loved Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk to close out night one of WrestleMania. First off, and we'll have a second part of this video, another one. But I want to focus on Roman Reigns here for a second because he has been very public that he doesn't have a lot of time left. He's seemingly gearing up to the end of his wrestling career and almost getting into that rock phase of his career to the point where he's going to go Hollywood. He's done. Let's be real and let's talk about the legacy of Roman Reigns here and talk about the career that this man has had. This guy was the most universally hated human being in wrestling for, I would say, about a good 5-year period, at least a good 5-year period where people couldn't stand this guy. There was a little break in the middle where he had to go away due to leukemia, but then the fans immediately turned on him again because they realized he was still the same guy. And then COVID happened. And he turned into maybe the greatest character this company has ever seen and put on the greatest title run of the modern era. So let's recognize and acknowledge what this man has done, specifically in the last 5 years. And what we have seen since 2023 with the start of that arc with Cody Rhodes and then him losing to Cody last year at WrestleMania. He took the pinfall and got betrayed again by Paul Heyman, who aligned with his worst enemy in Seth Rollins. Let's just take a moment to just, peel back. Anybody who thinks that Roman is just full of himself and is all about ego, Roman is as giving of a superstar as there is in this business. He has taken back-to-back WrestleMania losses. Back-to-back. Roman has given so much to this. And then CM Punk gets to be in the main event. And a large chunk of it is because of it is CM Punk, but also you got to give Roman Reigns some credit for being selfless and, giving the spotlight to CM Punk and recognizing this is a big fucking deal. So let's just talk about that Roman Reigns, the man, there for a second. Now, in terms of the story, what is there left for Roman Reigns? Because Cody Rhodes hinted at this 2 years ago. He said, once everything fell apart, everybody was going to leave him. The Usos have left him. They're on their own now. Jay's the world champion. Sami Zayn will be back on television, I assume at some point after getting some much-deserved time off. It sucks he had to miss WrestleMania this year. But he had his WrestleMania moment in Toronto against his best friend, Kevin Owens. So let's get real. And then Paul Heyman, his wise man, turns on him. And aligns with his best, with his biggest adversary, his biggest challenge, his biggest hurdle in the history of WWE. It's Seth Rollins. So what's going to happen? Because Roman Reigns, let's get real. I'd say he's probably got only a few years left in wrestling before he goes away. I'm not going to say he's going to retire and do like a big old retirement tour like John Cena. But here's what I think is going to happen. I think Seth Rollins is going to win the World Heavyweight title from Jey Uso. And we're going to form this big old super group. We're going to form this big old super group with Seth, and Seth and Cena and Rock and, maybe Becky Lynch and there'll be a whole bunch of people. What I can see a scenario of happening, if they want to do it this way, although I don't think it needs a championship, but I think Seth is going to win the World Heavyweight title. It makes a ton of sense as a heel now to really solidify that move and aligning with his wise man now in Paul Heyman. I think that Roman and Seth are going to face each other again. Roman, if you remember, Roman's never beaten Seth. He's never beaten him. That's one of the only things he's never done in his career is he's never beaten Seth Rollins, which is insane to think about. So I think there's a good chance if Seth does have the title like I predict, that Roman will beat him for the World Heavyweight title. And then maybe, maybe it leads to something. But Roman's going to beat Seth before he goes. That's the point. But all of this is leading up to WrestleMania 42, which is the last possible opportunity. And all of this will have to make sense for Rock to face Roman Reigns. It has to happen. It has to happen before Roman gets out of there. And Rock doesn't have a lot of time left either. I thought it should have happened this year, but now, based off what I saw in that main event, it makes a ton of sense because Roman's got everything stripped away. And if Heyman aligns with Rock and with Seth Rollins, that's only going to make Roman even more motivated. I don't know what this version, if it's going to be the tribal chief anymore, or if he's going to go back to being the big dog or whatever. But Roman Reigns' story post WrestleMania 41 is fascinating, given there's all of his old remnants of the last 5 years is gone. His career is seemingly winding down, and there's really only two things left on his wrestling bucket list that he needs to accomplish, and that is beat Seth Rollins, and that is face The Rock, and ultimately beat The Rock at WrestleMania. That's it. That's all he's got left to do for us as wrestling fans, and then I will be okay. But one thing I need to say before I get out of here is we need to acknowledge what this man has been able to do in the last 5 years. He has been able to get us engaged in a storyline, engaged in a character to the point where we have loved him. If you guys remember 10 years ago when he walked into WrestleMania 31, everybody wanted him to lose. And what happened that night? The heist of the century. 10 years later, the betrayal of the century happened with Paul Heyman aligning with him, and we are all devastated for Roman. What a job by this man of turning everything around and having one of the greatest title runs ever, one of the greatest story arcs ever. And what happens from here on out is just gravy. He's got two things left to do, but he has been a gift to professional wrestling. Thank you, my tribal chief. We will see if he comes back as the tribal chief. I hope it doesn't rip it off, but there's a different iteration of it. But this is going to be fascinating to watch moving forward. Anyway, I will see you guys soon. Let's acknowledge him now because we're not going to probably see him for a while. I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.